For if we believe that Christ died and rose again, even so them also which sleep in him will God bring with him. For this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of God, and the dead in Christ shall rise first. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. Wherefore, comfort one another with these words. Wherefore, comfort one another with these words. Wherefore, comfort one another with these words.
All right. Shalom.
Shalom.
First and foremost, we want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Bahashem, Rachakodash. We want to give double honors to our apostles and our elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings, salutations to you, elect Akim, consistently kicking this word in sincerity and in truth, striving for masteries, kicking this word. All right. Today we're going to be coming at you brothers with a lesson. Lord willing, us edifying. Have the priest Tazamah here.
Shalom. Yahweh Shem Barakathon.
And I'm the brother Sha'ar. And we were just doing some talking as we were fellowshipping today, breaking some bread and just meditating on a few things. And something that we were pretty much talking about going into this is how when we perform, our priestly duties, as to speak, as we ought to be, because we represent those spiritual priests, because we offer up spiritual sacrifices, there's a certain way that Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahawashi has it to be done. He expects it to be done a certain particular type of way. All right, even pertaining to the ancient priesthood, there was a certain way that they had to offer up sacrifice. And the Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahawashi was very, very, very strict on how he wanted it done. And the reason why he wanted it so strict and so particular, because the duties that we have down here actually mimic what's taking place within the heavens. Okay, so we can't just offer up sacrifice any just type of random way. Okay, there's a certain way that it has to be done, because the way that we do these things, and as we can understand why the Lord wanted to be done away, and with us being those stewards or those servants, we want it to be done that way too, because we want to please the Lord. Because ultimately when we perform it the way that we're supposed to, you're giving glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahawashi. All right, at the end of the day, it's glory being given. And you don't want to give no, pardon the French, but you don't want to give no half-ass glory to the Lord. All right, he's not worthy of half-ass glory. Okay, he doesn't expect half-ass glory to be given to him, but he wants full attention and full glory and full praise to be given unto him. And we perform that as we're those priests. And it's fashioned already after a way that's already been done in the heavens, because the angels do it. And just as you have the angels which are up there do it, we're angels as well. All right, now we're not spirits of fire per se, we're made in fleshly houses, but we're still those messengers to the Lord, and he put his spirit upon us to offer up this service, offer up this sacrifice. Okay, so he wants us to give the full glory like how the angels do, because he's worthy of that. You got a precept?
This is Sirach chapter 43 verse 30. It says, when ye glorify the Lord, exalt him as much as you can.
That's right. It says when you glorify the Lord, speaking that a man of the Lord is going to be glorifying him. All right, and this is instruction on how to glorify him. And it says exalt him as much as you can. All right, and as much as we can read these scriptures and look at it, you really have to meditate on that. Okay, because the scriptures also say when thou comes to serve, when pretty much when you're brought back to remembrance, you need to serve him 10 times more. When you read that in the book of Baruch, okay, serve him 10 times more. So that's what we're supposed to be doing. We need to glorify him as much as we can. And it's not only just talking, but it's based on our actions as well. And also looking at different men in history and also how the angels do it. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, because when the angels glorify the Lord, they don't glorify the Lord in a half-assed manner, or there's specific angels that set forth in the heavens. There are specific angels that set forth in the heavens that their whole duty and their whole job is to glorify Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. All they do is praise the Lord continually, day and night. You see, so even with us, what the scripture says that we're going to judge the angels, we're going to be in more glory than the angels themselves. You know, Lord willing, we those elect men. Salaki, how much more shall we have to glorify the Lord? You know, so it says, Sirach 43:30, when ye glorify the Lord, exalt him as much as you can, for even yet will he far exceed. And when you exalt him, put forth all your strength and be not weary, for you can never go far enough. So you can never go far enough when you give glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, man. And it says you got to put forth all your strength. You see, because you got to remember that Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, he's the only one that can deliver you out of scenarios and situations. He's the one that gives you everything that you need. He's the one that gives you, matter of fact, if I may, can I get one more quick one?
You get Galatians?
Nah, I was gonna get something in
yeah, you got it.
Corinthians.
Okay.
It's 2 Corinthians 3 and 5. I'm sorry, verse 4. And such trust have we through Yahweh Shai to the Most Highward. Not that we are sufficient of ourselves to think anything as of ourselves, but our sufficiency is of the Most High. You see, and then when you get that word sufficiency, it goes back into your ability. Mm-hmm. Our ability to praise the Lord to our full extent and our strength comes from Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, because he is our strength.
Right. Every
utterance that we say comes from him. You see? So when it says exalt him with all your strength, for even with as much as we exalt him, it's not going to exceed how much we still should do it.
Right. We can never do it. We can never do it enough. Even when we do it to our max, he still deserves more. But he's merciful in all everything, and he understands the situation that we're in. He understands your flesh is weak. He understands that you're weak. All right. Now he tells us to offend less, but at the same time, he knows the position that we're in. All right. So he wants us to do the best that we can when it comes to exalting him. All right. I got a quick precept as well. Because, matter of fact, can you read the end of that precept you brought up in Sirach, Baba Kashaw?
Okay.
And then I'm going to follow it up with this precept right here.
It says, the end of it is said, for you can never go far.
Just read the whole verse again, Baba Kashaw.
All right, it says, when you glory the Lord, exalt him as much as you can. Mm-hmm. For even yet will he far exceed. Mm-hmm. And when you exalt him, put forth all your strength and be not weary.
All right, so it says, put forth all your strength and be not weary. Because like the brother had stated, you have those angels that are in the heavens, and their particular job is to bow down unto him and praise his name. You don't got angels that are up there like, all right, man, I'm tired of doing this. They've been doing that since the foundations of the earth.
Since they've been created.
Since they've been created, because that's what they've been created for. You know, were we not created for that same fashion? Now we are in the flesh right now. But as you read that scripture there in Sirach, it says always do it. Okay? And it says to be not weary. Because you got a lot of guys that'll come to the point where they're getting tired of it. They don't feel like they have to do a bunch of lessons, and they don't have to come to camp all like that. They make excuses here and there when the scriptures say to always do it. Now, this is the book of Galatians chapter 6, verse 9, just land back and off of you. Because again, this goes into how we're supposed to perform the services of the Most High. All right, and the key ingredient to that is glorifying him. Okay? Because those angels that glorify him day and night, they play the role as priests in the heaven as well. And within their priestly duties that they perform, that's how they glorify the Lord, by their actions. So this is Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. It says, and let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. Okay? Because you think about the ancient priests, right? They had particular duties that they had to do. After the age of 30, you was a priest and you had to perform it. All right? Because you was looked at as a spiritual leader when it came to all the nation. Whatever suburb you was planted at, all right, you had a pretty much a very important duty, all right, and that wasn't given just to any old body. And the ones that grew weary in that was very much frowned upon back then, because that was the lot that had been given to you from the Lord, being called his firstborn. All right, remember the Levites back then, those priests were considered his firstborn. All right, so as we represent the spiritual priesthood under the order of Melchizedek, as we're joined unto Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, we represent those firstborn because we're represented as the first fruits. So since that's the case, we have a very important job that we have to have. And also too, when you look at it, When James and John had stood next to Yahushua, their mother asked, can my son stand to the right and the other one to the left? And Yahushua said, you not know what ye ask. All right, for are you willing to be baptized with my baptism? And they said, yeah, and they were willing to be baptized with that baptism. But it just goes to show you that we really, when we sign up to this, when Yahushua calls us out of darkness and brings us to the light, we have a particular duty that we have to do. And we can't feign at it, man. We can't feign at all, because at the end of the day, it's all well doing with what we're performing. Because again, we have examples by the angels that perform it, and Yahushua came as an angel, came down as the flesh, and performed it perfectly. Right. So there's duty that we have to have, okay, and we can't slack pertaining to it. Yahushua don't slack when it comes to the blessings that you receive.
He's not slack concerning his promise.
Exactly. You got a precept?
Were you finished with yours?
Yeah, I was done with that. After your precept, we're gonna jump to Revelation 5.
Because you was talking about doing it with all your strength, giving
right.
glory. This is Hebrews chapter 12. Verse 12, I'll just get to the point. It says, Wherefore lift up the hands which hang down in the feeble knees, and make straight paths for your feet, lest that which is lame be turned out of the way.
And real quick, when you go into that, man, that also goes to Proverbs, the 4th chapter, where it says, keep thy feet, look straight on, and turn not to the right and to the left. Because once you get distracted by those things that are out there in the world, that could cause you to err. And you look at the things that are happening in the world, and that can cause you to be weary in the spirit. Because you start latching on to those things in the world based on those distractions. And that'll cause you to doubt. All right. At the end of the day, we're talking about glorying in the Lord. And as we're supposed to do it to the best way he wants us to do it, there's no room for distractions, man. That's why we're those spiritual eunuchs. Because when you look at a eunuch is naturally one who's castrated, but he's castrated so he can focus on the job at task. And you also had different eunuchs as well, where it just means to be under complete, how can I put this, so to speak, under the complete service of the king.
Right.
Right. Like Daniel and all them. And that means what? You're gonna have to be distracted less. And since you're in that position where you are a spiritual eunuch, you don't have room to look to the left or to the right, because you're supposed to be so singular, focused on the task that's at hand to glorify him as the angels do. You got something?
Yeah, I'm gonna read verse 13 again. It says, and make straight paths for your feet, lest that which is lame be turned out of the way, but let it be rather healed. So when you get turned out of the way, that word is ektrepo. It says to turn out or twist out. Passive in a medical sense, in a figurative sense of the limbs, lest it be wrenched out of its proper place, dislocated, put out of joint, lest he who is weak in a state of grace fall therefrom. Because at the end of the day, if we're part of Yahushua's body, we can't have can your body operate correctly if you have a dislocated limb?
Right.
If you have a dislocated hip, can your leg operate correctly?
Right.
No, man. There can be no schisms within the body, man. So when it says lest that which is lame be turned out of the way, it literally means be dislocated, man. And you can't be dislocated within the body of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, man. Because once you begin to be dislocated, what happens, man? It says, lest he who is weak in a state of grace, you losing faith. It says, lest he who is weak in a state of grace fall therefrom. You fall from the grace, man, and then you turn aside and you go astray back into the world, man. Okay, like the elders say, man, you got to stay plugged into the power source, man. And being plugged into the power source means what? Constantly praying, staying locked in the spirit, staying locked into the scriptures. You see, of course, there's going to be times where demons attack you, and there's going to be times where you slip up. But you can't let that stop you from glorifying Yahweh Shem Yahushua,
That's right. I got a quick precept, and then we can jump to. Did you have more on that?
No, that was it.
We can jump to this and then Revelation 5. But this is Psalms chapter 34, and I'm gonna start at verse 17. It says, "The righteous cry, and the Lord heareth." Now, when it says they cry, does that mean that you're wailing and boo-hooing? No, that means you're doing what the scriptures told you to do. All right. The scriptures in Isaiah 58 says, "Cry aloud and spare not. Lift up thy voice like a trumpet." Is that not pertaining to glorifying the Lord? And you also read it in Isaiah 19 chapter, where it talks about how that altar is going to be set up in the midst of Egypt. And the Lord was going to look at what was burnt on that altar as a sweet smell, which is talking about us. And it says, they shall cry unto the Lord, and he shall send them a deliverer. So when you go into crying unto the Lord, that goes into glorifying the Lord.
Right.
Because when you offer up sacrifice, you're doing that for what? To please the Lord. All right. You're offering up that sacrifice, and what? It has to be perfect. It has to be blameless. Because if it ain't blameless, what? It's not glorifying him. Mm-hmm. Because in order for it to be, let's put it like this in the ancient terms. When a priest had took a lamb, it had to be of the first year. It had to be perfect. It had to be, it couldn't have no blemishes. All right, if you would have took a whack-ass sacrifice and just a lamb with 3 legs, you ain't glorifying the Lord fully. Look at Cain, for example. The reason why the Lord found more favor in Abel than Cain is based on the sacrifice that he had offered upon the altar. All right, so you look at that as today and equate that as unto us crying to the Lord. He's looking for that right sacrifice because that was the priest's job to offer up that sacrifice, and that's pertaining to glorifying the Lord.
Yeah, look at Nadab and Abihu, man.
Exactly.
What happened to them, man? When they offered a strange sacrifice and a strange fire to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, man, he smote them right on the spot, man, and burned them up.
Right.
I want to say he burned them up.
Yeah, he burned them up. He smoked them.
Yeah, and we gotta make sure that we're not offering any kind of strange sacrifices or strange fire to the Lord, man.
Right.
Because what's gonna happen if you do that, man? He gonna burn you up whenever you come back, man. Mm-hmm. You got it.
Just going into that precept that you had brought up about the joints and how the joints aren't supposed to be loosened. Mm-hmm. They're supposed to be together. This is Psalms chapter 34, verse 17 again. I'm gonna read it. The righteous cry, and the Lord heareth and delivereth them out of all their troubles. It says, Yahweh is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart, and saveth such as be of a contrite spirit. Okay, because that's the sacrifice that the Lord is looking to, pertaining to Psalms chapter 51, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's how he wants to be glorified, by men within that state. The key point is in verse 19. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord, the keys in 20, but it says, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but Yahweh delivereth him out of them all. He keepeth all his bones. He keeps his bones, meaning they're all going to be joined together. Because those bones represent the body of Yahushua, right. the actual inner framework of Yahushua. We represent his framework, which means we're all connected and we can't be loose in any type of way. It says he keepeth all of his bones.
And when
go ahead, brother.
And when Yahushua was on the cross, man, none of his bones was broken too.
Exactly, and that represented what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. How that strengthened the feeble knees. Mm-hmm. Everything was still connected together, and that's why he didn't die. He gave up the ghost for those 3 days, but it returned back and he resurrected.
He conquered death.
Mm-hmm. So if he conquered death and that spirit's within us, we're supposed to constantly be more than willing to glorify Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. But I'm gonna go in verse 20. He keepeth all his bones, not one of them is broken. So they're all joined together, bit by bit, singular, perfected how it's supposed to be done, as it's done in heaven.
Right.
Yahweh wants his will to be done on earth as it is in heaven. All right, and part of that will is how we glorify the Lord. Because when you look up there in the heavens, we're going to bring up an example here in a minute, it's done perfectly. He's getting his constant repetitive glory as he deserves. So as that's done in heaven, that's supposed to be done on the earth as well, to the best of our ability, until we're perfected. All right? Could you pull up? Matter of fact, it's all good. I'll read it right now.
You said Revelations 5? I got
Revelation chapter 5.
Here you go.
Come.
I'll read it for you.
Okay.
This is Revelation chapter 5, verse 1.
And we're bringing up an example, okay, and how he wants it done.
Revelations 5 and 1, it says, and I saw in the right hand, hold on.
It's all good.
It says, and I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne a book written within, and on the backside, it's talking about the scriptures, sealed with 7 seals.
Right.
And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof? Mm-hmm.
So this is the question that's being asked, and more so it's a declaration or a challenge. Mm-hmm. All right. The angel's asking who is worthy as a challenge. Okay, go ahead.
And no man in heaven, nor in the earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon.
Yeah, man. So nobody could accept that challenge. All right, go ahead.
Verse 4, and I wept much, because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book.
Now, this is John, right? This is John. So John looked upon himself and saw like, I'm not even worthy to open up. And he wept because nobody was able to. You know, he had to look at himself too, like, damn.
The angels wasn't even worthy to open it.
Right. This is an angel asking the question.
The angels don't go off, bro. The angels are in a perfect state, and
Beautiful
they
point.
wasn't even worthy to open the book.
Exactly. It says no man above the earth, on the earth, nor under the earth, meaning nobody. And John wept. Because you look at it, if nobody's worthy, not even an angel,
No understanding could come through.
there's no way that you're going to be redeemed.
Yep.
Right? So we're going to keep going. And it says,
I'll read it for you. I got you.
okay.
It says, verse 5, it says, and one of the elders said unto me, weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David.
Yeah, because remember, he was sacrificed as that lamb. But now since he had conquered death and played his role on the earth as that lamb as he was supposed to, now he's considered as this lion. Okay? And a lion is representative of one that rules, of one that conquers. All right? Nothing above a lion. Okay? In the animal world, that is. Go ahead.
It says, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book.
So he was able to do it. Go ahead.
He overcame.
That's right.
And to loose the 7 seals thereof.
Go ahead. And you read about those 7 seals. Like you read about those 7 seals really when you go into this, starting at chapter 6. Okay. Go ahead.
And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the four beasts, and in the midst of the elders.
So it was those 4 beasts, those 4 angels, and then it's those 24 elders. Okay. Now, just really quick before we continue, you find it very interesting that it's 24 elders, and then you have the throne that's in the midst of those 24 elders, right? And how we're going into how, as the priesthood was established, it was fashioned already after something that had already existed. Now, back then around the time of Moses, when he had those wise men that was established under him to help him judge, okay, later on in time, of course, because that was the start of the Sanhedrin, right? You had 71 men that was there, 70 of them that was around, and then you had the one who was the chief of them, okay? But in every other suburbs that we were at, you had a group of 25 men that were the ancients of Israel, all right? And that one was pretty much to a degree held as a prince, and the 24 were the ones that sat around the head or that prince,
Right.
and that helped him judge, So you have those seats of those men that had that judgment. That was fashioned after those angels being set up there. All right, you got those 24 elders that sit up there. Again, that's another example of how what was done down here is fashioned after what's done in the heavens. Okay, just wanted to bring that point out there.
Yeah, that's why the scripture says, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So the will of the Lord was to build a tabernacle for him to have a priesthood,
Right.
for the tabernacle to be a certain way. That was the Lord's will that was commanded to Moses.
Right.
But even on top of that, it's the same thing that's done in heaven. So it says, and one of the elders saith unto me, weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book.
As he was prophesied to do.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
And to loose the 7 seals thereof. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders stood a lamb as it had been slain.
Stood a lamb as it had been slain. So this is Yahushua we're talking about, right? But it talked about stood a lamb as it had been slain. Okay, and what is that? That's a sacrifice. Go ahead.
It says having 7 heads, or so like having 7 horns and 7 eyes.
Yeah, and for the brothers that might not know, that pretty much means all rulership and dominion in everything. All seeing, everything, all power,
all knowledge,
all that's been given unto him. All right, that's why it says 7. It ain't like it was a lamb that had seven eyeballs.
Yeah, that would have been an unblemished lamb.
Exactly.
That would have been a blemished lamb.
That would have been a blemished lamb. Yeah, that would have been a lamb looked like it drunk toxic waste.
Yeah.
But that goes into how all glory was given unto him. But go ahead.
It says, which are the 7 spirits of the power Most High sent forth into all the earth.
Right. Go ahead.
Verse 7, it says, and he came and took the book out of the right hand of him that sat upon the throne.
Okay, all that power was given unto him. Okay, because just as that's the scriptures, okay, that book represented the scriptures, all knowledge and power was given unto him. But what's pertaining to that knowledge and that power? Okay, the men that were written within as well.
Yep.
Because
Bind
they were
up the
written within that book, right?
Bind up the testimony with them.
Yeah, and how do we know that? Their names are written in that book. And Yahweh Shai said, as they are yours, you know what I'm saying? You read it in John 17, he says, ye have given them unto me. Okay? So all power is given unto Yahweh Shai. Go ahead.
And when he had taken the book, the 4 beasts and 24 elders fell down before the Lamb.
That's the point that I wanted. As he had taken that book, the 4 beasts and the 24 elders are bowing down to the Lamb and doing, what are they doing?
It says, fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden vials full of odors.
Golden vials full of odors. Go ahead.
Which are the prayers of the saints.
That's right, which are the prayers of the saints. And when you go into that, that's offering up that sacrifice. All right, when you go into the tabernacle, because again, matter of fact, if you can pull it up in Exodus 25, Baba Kashaw. Because now we're getting to the point where it goes into how these men performed that duty within the heavens. They played the instruments. They blew the trumpet. They blowing the trumpets. We're reading about that in Revelation 8, how they blew the trumpets. And they offer up those incense. Okay. Now, when you look into the ancient tabernacle, all right, you had what was considered the within the first veil and within the second veil, the holiest of holies. Okay. Now, within the first veil, you have the table, you have the showbread, you have the candlestick, the 7 candlesticks, okay, and you have the wine, the wine which was offered within that, okay. And Aaron's sons were to be in there and offer up those sacrifices and eat that bread. But within the first veil, you had what was called the holiest of holies, and what stood in the midst of the holiest of holies. All right, you had the Ark of the Covenant, and then you also had what? You had the golden censer, okay, and the high priest was the one to sit upon the holies of, he was the one that stood within the holies of holies, and he sat upon the mercy seat, which was within that, which was on the Ark of the Covenant, okay, and he would communicate with the Lord using the Urim and the Thummim, and he also had to offer up that sacrifice of that incense, right, which was up there. So as we explained it briefly, as we abridged it, and we're going to read just how it was established in Exodus 25, going into the point, that's how it was done within the heavens. And it was a very particular way how it's done. Okay, because as the angels did it, that represented our prayers and what we're doing. And you think if an angel messes up and doesn't burn the incense, the prayers ain't gonna be received. Right? Because the prayers represent the incense that was burned up.
Yeah, and they're gonna do it perfectly.
They have to do it perfectly. Yes, because they're angels, but also too, if they didn't do it perfectly, there wouldn't be no way that the Lord would hear our prayers. Now, he's the Lord. He can do anything he wants, but that's the way he wanted it done. And just as the angels have to perform that perfectly, we have to mimic that, because that's how we have to glorify the Lord.
I got something.
Go ahead,
Psalm 141:1. It says, Yahweh, I cry unto thee. Make haste unto me. Give ear unto my voice when I cry unto thee. Let my prayer be set forth before thee as incense.
Right.
And the lifting up of my hands as the evening sacrifice.
When you go, where's that at? Psalms what?
141:2.
Okay, I'm gonna go into keep going, Salaki, if you have more.
No, that was it.
Okay, so when you go into that, word prayer, within this, hold on one sec. It says the word there is thapalah. All right, and it says prayer, but when you go into that word palah, it says to intervene, to interpose, to pray, to meditate, to judge, to intervene, what's that? Intercede.
To intercede.
You know? Yeah. But all that is based upon glory in the Lord. Okay, because you're offering up the thanks. Okay, because when you go into offering up thanks or praise, that goes into a thanksgiving offering, which is what you're gonna offer up. Just in general, because who he is.
Who intercedes our prayers for us?
Exactly.
Yahweh Shai.
Right.
You know, real quick. Exodus 30:8. And when Aaron lighted the lamps at even, And Aaron was the high priest.
And what lamps was he lighting?
He was lighting the candlestick.
Exactly.
When he light the lamps at even, he shall burn incense upon it, a perpetual incense before Yahweh throughout your generations. Ye shall offer no strange incense thereon, nor burnt sacrifice, nor meat offering.
That's a strange fire, man. All right. And just as Aaron performed that in the flesh carnally, we're supposed to perform that spiritually, because that's what it represented at the end of the day.
Yep.
That's exactly what that's talking about. That's what we're going into. Going into how when we glorify Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, as we read earlier in Sirach, we're supposed to perform it to the best of our abilities and not lacking concerning it. All right? Go ahead.
That was it.
Okay. Khan. I'm going to pull this up here in Exodus 25 and just going into the last verse.
Okay. Oh, I actually had that for you.
Okay. Well, I got it right here. It's cool. This is Exodus chapter 25, verse 40. And when you read Exodus 25, it's based on when Moses was on Mount Sinai. All right. When he was on Mount Horeb and he received the laws, the statutes, and the commandments from the Heavenly Father. Right. Okay. And a lot of people think just when he was up there, he received those 613 laws, which he did. But
he received way more.
He was up there for 40 days and 40 nights.
Yeah.
He received so much information, so much wisdom, so much of that light. His face had to be covered. His face had to be covered. You know? So he literally seen everything. Moses seen from the beginning. He seen what was going to happen in the end. He literally witnessed what's taking place here in the heavens. All right? Just as John is bearing witness to it.
Right.
Now, it doesn't say if John's face was white afterward or anything. He was in his jail cell by itself. But he was enlightened when he received that vision.
Yeah, it wasn't written.
It wasn't written. But just going to the point, Moses received all of it. All right? So he received, when you read chapter 25, he's telling us the instruction on what Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai instructed him pertaining to the tabernacle that he wanted built in his likeness, fashioned after what already existed in the heavens.
Right.
So Moses seen what was envisioned in the heavens. So when you read this chapter, that's what that's going into, just an abridgment, but we're going to go straight to the point of verse 40. Okay. So it says, and look that thou make them after their pattern. What pattern is that? What exists in the heavens? Now, if it's talking about the tabernacle and after their pattern, does it only just mean the tents? Or does it apply to what's going on within the tents? The duties that takes place? It has to be talking about the whole shebang when it's talking about the tabernacle, not just what he wants set up, but how he wants it performed. And as we use that as an example, it's done in the heavens. It was done in the flesh under the Levitical priesthood. It's being reestablished on how he wants it done in the heavens, but on earth, his will being done under the order of Melchizedek. And we're supposed to perfect it. That's why I'm going to read this quick precept real quick. In the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 2, verse 7. Verse 5. It said, if a man also strive for masteries, yet he is not crowned except he strive lawfully. Okay. And when you go into that word masteries and crowned, you got the word there, Stephanos. Okay. Let's go to it real quick. When you go into the word masteries, it says to encircle with the crown, to crown the victor in a contest, to adorn, to honor. Okay. To honor means to glory. And in order to be honored, you're going to have to do the things that he wants us to do after the pattern that already exists. Okay. But we're supposed to perfect it. Okay, we're striving for masteries. Okay, because we're going to be rewarded by the way that we offer up our sacrifice, by the way that we serve the Lord, by how we glorify him. Okay, and it's supposed to be in like pattern as it was established back then. We're finishing it up. We're literally finishing up. Well, I don't want to word it as finishing up because at the end of the day, it's going to be ongoing. But you know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It was established in the heavens. It was established in the earth due to the Levitical priesthood. But as we're on earth, we're establishing it more in the heavenly fashion as it was ordained to be established on the earth, though.
Yeah, you're stacking up your spiritual treasures.
Right. So how we're doing it is more important than how it was back then. Right? It's spiritual. Exactly. So he wants his glorifying being done spiritually, man. He wants it to be perfect.
That's why the scriptures say, roughly paraphrasing, those that come to the Lord are going to worship him in spirit and in truth.
Truth, that's right.
You know, not according to the carnal fashion of the letter, but according to the ministration of the Spirit, which belongs through Yahushua, being through that order of Melchizedek.
That's right.
That heavenly priesthood, which Yahushua being a priest, us being joint heirs, makes us priests along with him.
Exactly. And kings.
And kings. Melchizedek was a king priest.
Right.
Just like Yahushua he is a king and a priest.
That's right.
Lord willing, we elect. We're going to be kings and priests, like the Most High wrote about and witnessed in the law.
That's right.
He wants the whole nation of Israel to be kings and priests, which a priest does what? A priest intervenes for the people and they glorify the Lord. You know?
That's right. Con.
Oh, my bad. You got one?
Nah, that was it. What was you about to bring up?
Isaiah 6?
Yeah, let's finish it up on Isaiah 6.
Okay, so Isaiah 6, I'm going to read verse 1. It says, in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne.
So Isaiah is having a very similar vision to what John had. Okay, go ahead.
It says, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple.
Yeah, when you go into that word train, right there, all right, the word is shawal, and it's his skirt, or it's his priestly robe.
Woo!
All right, so that filled the whole temple, his glory, because you know how our garments pretty much represent our righteousness. So his righteousness or his robe or his garment filled up the whole temple. All right, the Lord is bad, bro.
Yeah, and who does this temple reside with? His men.
Right, exactly. Okay, go ahead.
It says, verse 2, it says, above it stood the seraphims.
All right, those are a set of angels. That's a particular species of angels, I should say. Go ahead.
Each one has 6 wings. With twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he did fly.
Now, let's really sit down and really just think about this, okay? Because this is really talking about Yahweh. All right? How those seraphims covered up Yahweh. 2 of their wings together covered up his face, because we're not worthy to look upon his face. Not even the angels, the 24 elders, were worthy enough to look at his face, because the wings were covering his face, and also the wings were covering his feet, because you know the feet is pretty much the base of your body. All right, they were covering up his face and his feet. All right, so they weren't willing to see the extremities of Yahweh B'Ashem Yahweh Shai. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 3, it says, and one cried unto another and said, holy.
Because mind you, I'm sorry, really quick, because when you go into that envisionment, that's exactly the same thing that we read about in Revelation. Those angels that were presented in front of Yahweh B'Ashem Yahweh Shai, those 24 elders, they're surrounded by him. He sits in the midst of the 24 elders. So you have those particular angels that stand in front of him, and they're pretty much surrounded by him with their wings covering certain parts of him. And you have the 24 elders that are kind of circled around him, pretty much as the same setting as the ancient Sanhedrin was set. Go ahead.
It said, holy, holy, holy is Yahweh of hosts.
So this is what these angels are saying. And Isaiah is seeing this. They're saying, holy, 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 which in the Hebrew, Kodash, Kodash, Kodash. Okay? So they're giving him praise, man, the uttermost praise. And this is what they do since their existence. They say, holy, holy, holy. He's that holy that his face is being covered and his feet's being covered in the heavens. And the only one that's worthy to see it is the one who sits beside him, Yahushua. So he's that worthy. They're giving him that much glory and that much praise. Holy, holy, holy. Go ahead.
It says, in the post of the door moved at the voice of him that cried, and the house was filled with smoke.
Yeah, and what's that smoke likened unto? The prayers of the saints. That's the incense and the sacrifices that's being offered. Okay? And he looks at that as that sweet savor. Because what is a sacrifice likened to? His glory and his praise. And that filled up his whole house, the whole tabernacle, which is in the heavens. So that's why we were in the tabernacle, in the earthly tabernacle, offering up sacrifices, offering up the incense. Because that was likened to the praise and the glory that he's worthy to receive. But it was in a carnal fashion. What we're doing right now as we do our lessons, as we go out on the highways and byways, as we teach, as we give charity, as we help brothers, as we rebuke, okay? As we do the work, do our services, we're reestablishing that spiritual priestly setting which already exists in the heavens. And the key point of this lesson and what they do up there in the heavens is consistently give praise unto the Lord. This is being reestablished on the earth as it ought to be done in the heavens.
Right.
All right?
Okay.
You got anything?
No,
That's the moral of the lesson, brothers. All right? So when it comes to serving the Lord, doing your lessons, being a brother, we're supposed to be more than willing to glorify Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, especially if we consider ourselves being angels in the flesh, messengers, right? Because an angel is nothing but a messenger.
we shall judge the angels, man.
Right, yeah, we shall judge angels, meaning that Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai even sets us on a higher standard as them. So how do you have to look upon yourself since that's the case? You have to really watch how you serve and make sure that when it comes to glorifying him, you don't look at it as it's a burden. Be pleased to do it as the angels are. Okay?
That's it. I mean,
You know, and okay, Khan.
That's all good.
Well, hey, Lord willing, that lesson was edifying. We want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to our apostles and our elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings, citations, and hey, much love to you elect Akim across the four winds of this earth, prophesying in sincerity and in truth, singing this song, glorifying Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, in sincerity and in truth. All right, Shalom.
Shalom.